Welcome back to another episode of the What's the Play podcast. I'm Christian with Brian, Caleb, SportsFan, Jalen, and here we're going to talk about the playoffs to start off. We got other Jalen, he's producing today for us, but we're going to talk about the playoffs to start off. Regular season just ended, so we want to give our wild card round predictions. So we want to start off with the Seahawks and 49ers. Anybody want to volunteer to go first?
I think it's easy. The 49ers. Even though it's hard to beat a team 3 times in the season, no matter what team you play, the 49ers is on a different level right now. The defense is supreme. Brock Purdy has been on fire. Christian McCaffrey is a great addition not off-season, at the deadline. So I just think the 49ers are just going to get it easily.
So, of course, it's a divisional game, so this could obviously... it won't go either way, but it'll probably be pretty close. But, yeah, same thing. We saw what the Seahawks looked like the last time they played the 49ers, and that was at home. The defense was just unstoppable. So, I think the 49ers defense carries them to victory again. And it's an probably easy win, like 28-7, 2017, maybe something like that. But 49ers win.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's probably going to be a blowout, I'm not going to lie. Just looking at it, I know it's a division rivalry, so maybe it can be more competitive because of that. And Geno has been playing really well this season, above his pay grade. But if you just looked at the road the 49ers have been on to basically close out their season and just think about how Seattle played last week versus Baker Mayfield and how that game came down to the wire, you can just tell that there's a different level to these two teams. So the 49ers going to probably blow them out. I say they win by at least 14.
I have a similar opinion as everybody else here. Of course, it's a divisional game, so the teams are really familiar with each other. But the 49ers are just the better team in almost every aspect. I think it really does come down to, and this is for the whole playoff run, is how Brock Purdy shows up. And so he's shown us that he's shown up throughout the regular season. And as long as he shows up in this playoff game, I think the 49ers should be able to win this easily. The Seahawks had a good season, played better than everybody expected them to. So, it's on them to surprise us all again. So let's move on to the next game that we talk about, and that's the Los Angeles Chargers against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Anybody?
What's up, JG?
This is probably, out of all the wildcard games, probably the closest one. Where it really shouldn't be because the talent level between both teams is really different. But one of the teams last week, Brandon Staley, decided to start Brandon Staley, the head coach of the Chargers, decided to start almost all their starters into the fourth quarter. For some reason, in a meaningless game, their seating was already set. It couldn't go up or down no matter what happened in the game. And over the course of the game, Jerry Bosa walked off the field with an injury, and then Mike Williams had to get carted off. He had a back injury. They show him in the locker room limping in there. So it's almost like, why did you enrich your players? After the game, he said, well, there's only a certain amount of people on the roster, so we had to make choices. Yeah, that's cap. Because every other team in the league is able to bench it. The Giants are able to do it. A bunch of other teams that's locked into their seating do it, or at least benched them after like the first quarter, maybe the second. They played them well into the fourth. In a game, they lost. So it didn't make sense to begin with. So that's the only reason it's going to be close. I'm hoping the Chargers still win. If the Chargers win, that means they can't get champagne, but we'll talk more about that later. But oh my God, I feel like the Jaguars are going to win just because Brandon Staley's not a good coach. And I kind of just like the experience that the Jaguars coach has coaching the Eagles. And Trevor Lawrence, I think, is coming out party. He's going to be a top 10 quarterback sooner or later.
To go off of JG, I agree with him. I think the Chargers are going to get out-coached. I think Brandon Staley's going to get out-coached. Doug Peterson is an amazing coach. He took a Philly team with the MVP quarterback, got hurt, went to Nick Foles and won a championship. But I just think Doug Peterson is a great coach to turn his team around midway. And they're just on the hot streak right now. I think it's going to be a great quarterback battle regardless with Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert's going to have to carry the Chargers. However, I do think that Brandon Staley isn't good enough to just beat this team.
Well, I'm kind of on the same wavelength as Caleb. I just think that this is going to come down to coaching, and I trust a guy in Doug Peterson who has won a Super Bowl over a guy in Brandon Staley who I believe is on the hot seat and will be fired if he loses this game. I believe in Justin Herbert. He will be a top 3 quarterback on my quarterback list next year, but I just don't think he has enough to be able to overcome what's going to happen. So I have the Jaguars as well.
Top 3?
Yeah.
Hey, don't get him started, man. But So I mean, I don't want to be the only person picking the Chargers on the panel, but I'm a true believer in Justin Herbert. I feel like the team will realize that for them and for him as a quarterback, this is a big game for them. And I agree with the other people who said that, coaching experience really does matter in the playoffs. But and Brandon Staley is not the best coach. But at this stage in the playoffs, I'd like to think that talent may outlast the coaching, but at the same time, it depends on who plays for the Chargers well. If Mike Williams isn't playing, my pick is flipped. And if Joey Bosa is limited, my pick is flipped.
Yeah.
That decision by Brandon Staley may come back to haunt them. But with this game, a lot of people may have it as a toss-up. I know the odds are really close in Vegas right now. So when it's this close, some people may lean coaching, which is what everybody here has done. I'll lean on the talent, and I think Trevor Lawrence is a great quarterback, but I think Justin Herbert is in that upper echelon, like Brian just said, top 3, top 4 quarterback in this league right now. So that's why I'm gonna go with the Chargers.
I watched a video like a month ago, right, about the Chargers play calling, right?
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
Damn,
Yeah.
Every pass play is just the run to the sticks, curl. Run to the sticks, curl. Run to it's the
Sounds like
worst thing.
curl.
I don't know how to do
It's
that.
that Saints offense, man.
It's amazing Herbal does what he does in offense because it's
Exactly,
really bad.
man.
Because I know people, they see the name Keenan Allen and they see his stats and think he's really good, but there's been a lot of chances he's been kind of locked up, to be honest with you. Herbal just throwing them open. That's why Herbal makes a lot of space. He be throwing people open. Because Mike Williams is a good receiver, but he's not a separator. Keenan kind of separated, but he's even up there in years. He never was really fast. He was more quick than fast. And then the third receiver was supposed to be, I think, Jalen Guyton, but he got hurt. So now it's
Joshua Palmer.
Joshua Palmer. No. So it's...
Is Mike Will hurt? I mean, I know you hurt, but what's his injury?
Like a back injury.
like a back injury.
Yeah.
He hasn't practiced. But the thing with the thing that does get me a little, type of the Chargers is they have the big arm quarterback with probably a top 2, top 3 strongest arm in the league. And like Caleb just said, they run a lot of short route concepts, and you can argue that is because of the receiver room that they ended up putting together. But at the same time, when you have a quarterback of that skill set, you'd like to see better efforts made to put some down the field speed with him at the receiver position. And if Mike Williams is your best deep threat, Mike Williams is great at going just to catch a ball. You throw the ball up to Mike Williams, he may catch it, but he's not separating. So a lot of times, if Justin Herbert is just throwing it to him downfield, he's throwing it to a spot where he thinks Mike Williams is going to be. Mike Williams is often there. He'll often go up and get it. But he doesn't have a true burner who's going to run past the last line of defense. And a lot of the route concepts are short. They'll take a shot play every few drives, but that's not the offense that you want to be running with this type of talent at quarterback. So that's why I also think that this has been an admirable job by Justin Herbert this year with the pieces he's been dealt, with the play calling, the pieces around him.
Playing through injury.
For sure.
A lot of people don't remember that rib injury people thought might have kept him out for a few weeks, and he kept playing in that next week. So, I mean, and this wasn't his best statistical season, but he really was able to pick up the pieces around him. And so I'm predicting that he'll be able to do that in this game as well. Jacksonville's defense doesn't really move me to the point where I think they'll be able to shut the Chargers down. And if the Chargers defense is healthy with the current pieces they have, and if Joey Bosa plays, of course, I think they'll be able to get a few stops. And like we said last week when we predicted the Jaguars game, Trevor Lawrence will give you the ball if he's a little flustered in the pocket. He'll turn that ball over. And if the Chargers can create 1 or 2 turnovers, I think they win it.
JG, were you about to say something?
Nah, he makes a good point. It's what were you just talking about? I had my hand for something.
I think it was like Keenan Allen. He didn't have a deep.
Competition.
You saying he didn't have like a deep threat or something like that? I think
DeAndre Carter.
DeAndre, have you seen
Washington
the
Commanders legend.
Yeah, DeAndre Carter. Commanders legend. It's basically what you said. Think about it. You do have Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa on defense, and Darren James, and you got Keenan Allen, you got Mike Williams, you got Jay Herbo, you got Eckler. That's like 7 Pro Bowls right there. So you think
Corey
they won easily
on the offensive line if he's in.
Right, and is Slater out for the season or Slater?
I think Slater just got activated.
Right.
He had 21-day window.
Yeah, so they got like 7 to 8 Pro Bowls, some All Pros, and this game is still close. So that should tell you what type of Coach Staley is.
And the other thing is, a lot of people talking about Coach Staley. I don't think he's a good coach, But I also don't think if the Chargers lose this game, I don't think he's getting fired. And I say this because there was a turnaround on the defensive end that the Chargers were looking for from Staley to create when they hired him. What was it, 3 years ago?
2 years.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
So Staley his defense finally showed up recently, and of course he needed the big names to kind of make it happen. But they brought him in to be the defensive mastermind that he seemed to be when he was with the Rams, and you finally saw glimpses of that with this team. So I don't know how quickly they'd be. I think Lombardi gets let go before they let go of Staley.
Yeah, for sure.
But that Sean Payton thing. It's real enticing for them, I'm sure, because I feel like that's where Sean Payton wants to go is with Justin Herbert. Honestly, I feel like that's more enticing than Russell Wilson or Colt McCoy or Kyler Murray.
If I'm the Chargers, though, I feel like if Sean Payton is out there in the market, like I feel like no matter how far we get, unless it's to the AFC Championship, I want Payton.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Payton.
But at the same time, continuity in an NFL locker room is also very important. And it depends on if the players are buying in with what Staley is teaching. Because Sean Payton, they say he's locked in with Vic Fangio to bring him with him. Vic Fangio is going to bring his defense in. And the players just had 2 years with Staley where they seemed to buy into his system, and it showed on the field. And then you bring in Fangio, and then it's something, defense is defense, but Fangio brings in his scheme. The players are like, why would we even let go of Staley when, we made it to the playoffs finally? Because, I think that was their goal.
I don't think they're settling like that.
I don't know
they
if they're
should have at
settling.
least 13 wins right now.
13?
They have 10 wins. Bro.
Their goal beginning of the season was probably Super Bowl based on the talent and roster. But they had injuries to Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen didn't start playing half the season. Mike Williams, J.C. Jackson, they brought in as a free agent.
Yeah,
he was bad to begin with, and then he got hurt. So
okay, I understand that.
That receiving room coming in.
Joey Bosa got hurt. So the only player that's been healthy the whole season, Khalil Mack. And Eckler. Remember back on that. So
yeah, I would say this: Eckler is an amazing fantasy running back, but when it comes to just
actual running the ball,
it's not as impressive when you're watching the full games because Eckler gets a lot of his touchdowns. At that 2 yard line. He'll get it done, and he's a great receiving back. But when it comes to running in between the tackles, he has some games where he gets 19 carries and 30, 40 yards. But he has that touchdown for the fantasy points to look amazing. But we want to move on to the next game. We've been on this game for a while.
So moving on from one strong arm quarterback to another.
Skylar Thompson.
Strong arm. That's a strong arm.
So next game, another divisional game. The Dolphins and the Bills. As of right now, we know Tua is out. We're not too sure about if Teddy Bridgewater is going to play or not, but we do know that Tua is not going to play. So we'll start with.
It don't matter who play. If Tua gave him a chance, because they played in the regular season, the game was at least close in their last game. If Tua's not out there, and I saw what the Dolphins did last week versus the Jets and Joe Flacco, I'll be surprised if this game, the spread is 9.5 right now. I don't think the Dolphins cover that spread because their defense, they get turnovers, kind of, but it's not really a real elite defense. And offense is going to be awful. So the Bills probably blow them out and ride off the momentum of their last game. And it's not going to look good for the Dolphins. And they're saying they might. I hope this is not true. The Dolphins might fire their coach. I don't know why would you do that.
I think that's BS.
Yeah, starting quarterback had 2 concussions. That don't make no sense. But if he do get fired, I wouldn't be mad at him going to a different team.
So nasty.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody on the panel isn't going to take the Bills. I got the Bills as well. The only, I'm a little disappointed in the Dolphins because, I won't say, I'm a Skylar Thompson fan, but when it comes to quarterbacks, I like to evaluate off of traits, and Skylar Thompson is a real traitsy quarterback, and with the team that the Dolphins have put together with the deep threats, I felt like Skylar Thompson having he has a pretty big arm, and, he's mobile. I felt like they could have put together a spreadsheet of plays for him to, have some success. But against the Jets last week, the Jets are a good defense. But to only put up a win, only to win 11-6, wasn't really moving me to the point where I had expected him to, at least look decent in the game, So, if the spread is 9.5, not too much.
I gotta ask after you finish talking.
If the spread is 9.5, I suggest you all put your money on the The Bills.
The Bills,
yeah,
yeah.
the Bills to cover that because I could see this being a multi-possession loss, multi-touchdown loss for the Dolphins.
What were you going to ask, Jalen?
You thought he's gonna have a good game for real? You really believe Scott Thompson have a good game? Did you just seriously do? You know,
do you think Mike McDaniel thought he was gonna have a good game?
No. Do you know the last time Scott Thompson had a game? Played a game? You know who he played against?
Who?
The Jets. You know he did in that game?
Great defense.
Even worse before.
Great defense. So that means he's doing better, getting better.
They took the ball in his hands. They ran about 30 times.
He's getting better. All right. You're taking the Dolphins, right?
This is stupid.
I mean, I would have had the Dolphins if
Really?
Raheem Mostert was playing.
He was the same.
Hey, that's better than Tua if you ask me.
I personally feel like that. Actually, I lied. I'm definitely capping. I got the Bills.
Yeah,
I feel like there's no question at all, especially with the injuries the Dolphins got with Tua and Raheem Mostert broke his thumb. I think the Dolphins would have had some slight of a chance to at least cover the spread if Raheem Mostert was playing. Could have kept the ball away from the Bills longer, be able to win more. But that's not the case.
What's going on with Jeff Wilson?
He's not Raheem Mostert.
I mean, he was the bell cow for those 2 weeks till he fumbled in that what was that primetime game?
That has been the same since, bro.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Well, maybe he'll pick it up in this big game.
I just want to know the spread before. I think the Tua injury came out. It was like 9. Now it's 13. So
Hey, that's not 2 touchdowns.
Hey, man, that might be one that you might have to pick.
Hey,
Pick
2
Miami.
touchdowns and 2 extra points. I'm taking it.
even that spread, I wouldn't take that. That's
34-14.
there's people. I remember people saying TCU was going to cover that Georgia spread. It was plus 14.
People saying that?
Yeah, people were
Yes.
saying that in the
You don't read
in the group chat, man. It was
I don't be the group.
I would.
it was like no way TCU.
If I was
No way
14,
TCU lose by 14.
If I was asleep, I would have almost agreed too.
Now, man, for me, obviously taking the Bills as well. Josh Allen is just, at the way he played against the Patriots last week was just, it was crazy, almost spiritual. But some of them dots he was throwing. So just, I think he continues it this week, and I think potentially the Bills cover that spread.
This is a big playoff one for Josh Allen, so because that number 2 spot is starting to get a little shaky. I'm just, number 1 is locked up.
I'm not willing to go there.
No. Just watch the playoffs, man. Just watch, because it's.
But
some
the number 3
quarterbacks-
guy might be going up the first round.
No. Who's number 3?
Herbert.
All right. Who's number 4?
Mr. Burrow.
Oh, Burrow make that run, man. I don't know, but don't have.
You know what?
We'll wait for the next. We'll wait for the next game. to
Burrow
talk
might
about that.
Burrow might be number 2 by the
I don't know,
in the
man.
playoffs. I don't know.
It depends. Josh Allen, that Chiefs game last year, he performed to the standards. You can't say nothing about it. He has to do the same thing in this playoff run, though.
Yeah.
He can't have bonehead mistakes because Josh Allen, even though he's the number 2 quarterback in the league, everybody will say. I agree for right now. He is still prone to making the stupid mistake because that's just his play style as a quarterback. He's a real aggressive runner. He doesn't really get down often, so he's prone to maybe fumble once in the playoffs. So he can make mistakes that Burrow won't make, and so the discussion. I think Herbert is better than Burrow, but the discussion I feel like may be between Burrow and Allen going into the offseason because I don't see the Chargers making a long run. But this is a big playoff run for Allen because I do think that number 2 spot isn't as solidified as people think. This isn't the Manning Brady. This is Mahomes and the crew, honestly, if you ask me. This won't be the duel that people.
So question. So when it comes to just the playoffs in general, right? If you put money down the Super Bowl, are you choosing the Chiefs or the field?
Chiefs.
You want to? Should I say that now? Or should I wait till
You can say
it gets to?
I'm just curious.
I'm picking the field, but I'll say the team that I'm picking when we get to that.
We talking about the AFC or just to win it?
That's to win the Super Bowl.
I'm taking the field if we talking about winning.
Taking the field.
I believe the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, but if I'm a betting man, I would take the field because the Chiefs don't have negative odds. I don't think.
Yeah.
Everybody has plus odds.
I was gonna say if you're saying for the Chiefs to
The
make
Chiefs are the
it,
favorite.
I'm taking the Chiefs. But if you're saying to win it, I'm taking the field.
Yeah.
So you saying it's either the Chiefs or the NFC?
Basically.
Wow.
I think the
Even
Niners
just
is
an
gonna
AFC.
win.
I think the most competition you're gonna face is the AFC.
Yeah.
Personally.
That's a good
But
point. But we'll save
Oh.
our Super Bowl
The
The
prediction.
49ers look kind of. I'm scared.
I mean, those we'll get to that later.
Yeah,
but,
we'll save that for later.
what's the next game? Oh, yeah, Brian, you're going to last for this one.
Yeah, I'm definitely going.
We're going to talk about the Vikings and the good old New York Football Giants. I'll go for
Let's talk with JG since he's.
Oh yeah, he's already made his
I don't know. It's just like, is this game a Saturday or a Sunday game?
Sunday at 4:30.
Ooh, it's not 1 o'clock, so Kirk might be a little.
Oh yeah, that is close to prime time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a playoff game, so every game's prime time for real. But if I wake up and think, if I'm just thinking Daniel Jones gonna win a game today in playoffs, I'm just not believing it. I get it. The Vikings the record is good. They're not as good as the record says. Well, the Giants' record is good. They're definitely not as good as the record says.
That is true.
They're not that good of a team, to be honest with you. Just if you look at the roster, there's maybe like 4 really good players, I think, on that team. And I think the Vikings just overloaded with talent. Even though Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins, I think they figure it out after the last 2 kind of rocky games. And they learn from the mistakes and just build on it and go.
Last 2 rocky games. This whole season's been rocky for the Vikings, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
But
they're in the playoffs, so it's going to figure it out. I mean,
are we figuring out once the playoffs start?
No, we'll figure it out after this game because they're going to win.
Oh, it's calling it a bye week, okay.
Basically, because it's like...
You know, we were talking about earlier, I try to pick talent over coaching. You know, these are the 2 best rookie coaches, we would say.
Yeah.
O'Connell and Dable. But the way the Giants play for Dable is a little different than the way, the Vikings, good team. But, like I've said often, they don't move me.
The Giants move you.
No. Dable moves me.
The head coach of the Giants.
Yes.
But not the Giants themselves.
The way they play for Dable moves me as well.
Can you name these players?
Which ones?
The ones you're referring to.
Don't ask me about no cornerbacks. I can't name you one cornerback on the Giants except for Darnay Holmes.
Is he hurt? Isn't he hurt? Or is he back?
I think he might be able to play this
He might be able to play.
But
I'm not completely sure.
The Giants played the Vikings a few weeks ago. Only lost by 3. This is the story of the Viking season. They win close games consistently. But I do think the Giants come out with this one. I don't know what it is. I feel like somebody is going to have a big game, and of course that somebody is probably Saquon. And I think Daniel Jones will keep them in it. I think he has been playing really turnover-free football this season. And if he keeps that up in this playoff run, Kirk is bound to choke. And I've learned as a Washington football team commander and Redskin fan that Kirk Cousins is prone to lose big games. And betting on Kirk Cousins is not something I will ever do in my life. So I'm taking the Giants in this game. As long as Daniel Jones plays turnover-free football, and Saquon can run that ball the way that we've seen him run it most of the season. He's had a few weeks where he's been a little inconsistent. But I think they get it done and surprise some people on the panel.
You honestly read my mind, though. I think it's more of a it's not really more of a Kirk Cousins thing. I think it's more of a turnover thing.
Yeah.
Because the Vikings all season have been in close games. Like almost every game they've been in. Well, 11 games I think they won. It was a single possession game. So I think if Giants are able to just run the ball and not turn the ball over against the Vikings, I think they got it.
So you have the Giants?
I have the Giants.
Okay.
What time the Vikings playing?
4:30.
4:30 p.m.
Not 1 p.m.
On a Sunday.
I said you wasn't betting on 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins?
It feels like
it's 4:30. It's technically 4:30.
No, Kirk knows at 1 p.m. some people may still be in church, so he can really get started early.
When they're not watching it.
Yeah, but 4:30, everybody's at home. Everybody's ready to watch some football.
And they definitely gonna be ready for that game.
He get a little nervous then.
And they'll definitely be ready for that game if the Dolphins-Bills game goes as we expect it to go.
Good.
Everybody on the West Coast is also awake. Them 1 p.m. games. If I lived in the West Coast, I'd still be asleep because it'd be 10 a.m.
Okay.
I'd be asleep.
Right.
But 1 p.m.
1 p.m. on
I
the West
could be
Coast.
up. So he'd know.
I could possibly be up.
I could be up for that 1 p.m. game on the West Coast. So But hey, so Giants, Vikings.
So originally, I thought I might be the lone wolf here.
You should be. I don't know what these 2 are thinking. Because the last time the Giants and Vikings played, T.J. Hawkinson 100 yards.
Let's talk about that game. Let's talk about that game.
Last game, no.
Let's go back to the turnover talk. You had a fumble by Bellinger. You had an interception by Daniel Jones that people thought the game was over with.
Right.
You also had a situation where the Giants had to score a touchdown on 4th and 2 and get a 2-point conversion just to stay in the game. And Kirk Cousins had to have a long pass on 3rd down and long to Justin Jefferson, and then had to have a wide receiver screen to avoid overtime. for them to kick a 61-yard field goal and win.
Right.
So if you're able to eliminate those turnovers, and you're able to have a situation where you can contain Dalvin Cook the way they were able to do in that game, and put all the pressure on Kirk Cousins, I don't know if he replicates what he does again. I do think this game will obviously be close. And the Vikings are 11-0 in one-score games.
Right.
But the reason why I'm taking the Giants is because I just think that the defense is going to find a way to force a turnover or two on Kirk Cousins, might potentially late, and I think the Giants win on a late Graham Gano field goal, 24-20.
Man, who's to say the Giants
Who was forcing this turnover on the Giants?
Kayvon Thibodeau could get a sack. I think Xavier McKinney might be back, so if he's back, he could get a pick. I mean, anything's possible.
So
Plus, Gerard Davis looked good, this week from the middle linebacker position. So, having an improvement in the front seven is big.
I will say this. Every team, except for the Bears, that the Vikings have played twice this season, they've lost at least one of those games. Let's go for it.
Let's talk about it.
You're leaving out context there.
What is the context?
The other teams you're talking about are the Lions, who've been good this season. The Lions been better than the Giants, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And then you got
The
Aaron
Packers.
Rodgers.
Are either of those teams in the playoffs? Let's keep
They
going.
played
to
each
the
other.
Oh, this game right here, we might as well just breeze past the Ravens and Bengals.
I mean, do you want to go last? You want to start?
bro.
All right, so we gonna start with JJ.
Because that's first what I was talking about earlier.
That's who you have going?
My Super Bowl pick is for the AFC is the Bengals. I just believe in Joe Burrow
Wow.
and what he done in the playoffs so
You
far.
think they're beating the Chiefs again?
I don't see why not. They beat him again in the regular season
Okay.
easily. It's
We
like
can have that talk later.
it doesn't really. They beat him in the playoffs last year, and I don't think the Chiefs are better than they were last year. To be honest with you,
Man,
Mahomes might be better.
You see that article?
but I don't know if that defense is
You're
gonna.
just talking about one man. It's the one man difference.
Who?
Tyreek.
Hey man,
That's a
there was an article
top
that just
receiver in
came
the
out.
league. Top receiver in the league, but they play different now.
Hey man, there's an article that just came out talking about how the Chiefs look without Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, go tune in
Check
to
that out.
Brian's deductions.
Yep.
Mahomes is still gonna be Mahomes.
We're not talking about Mahomes, man. He's not even playing this week. Let's Bengals and Ravens. I also have the Bengals. Like I just mentioned about the Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert thing. I think Joe Burrow is going to perform in this playoff run. I don't want to get too deep because we're only doing a wild card round, but I think they're going to go on a pretty decent run this year. And the team is just well put together. The defense plays well. The receivers play out of their mind most of the time. Once Jamari came back, he stepped right back up. T. Higgins has been consistent all season. Tyler Boyd has been great. Hayden Hurst has been an upgraded tight end, and the running game isn't as great as it was last year. But once playoff time comes and you're running the ball more consistently, I would think, especially in this type of environment against the Ravens, this type of game you just want to chew that clock and
get out of there.
just get out of there. Because if they get up a few touchdowns, just run the ball. Prevent any injuries going forward, because I don't see this Ravens team competing, especially if Lamar. Well, no, I don't see them competing if Lamar doesn't play, and I don't think Lamar is going to play. I don't want to go too much into the contract talk because we have a Ravens fan on the podcast. It may hurt his feelings, but I think we saw the last of Lamar in Ravens jersey. But
How you go right back to
Man,
I'm not gonna say it, but Lamar's not playing. But I don't know who's playing quarterback for the Ravens, whether it's Tyler Huntley, Anthony Brown. Is there anybody else?
Does it matter?
I think that's it.
I don't think it
Maybe
matters.
I watched him play.
Maybe they can pick up Josh Johnson if he's not,
You just named the third quarterback basically the same as that.
I feel like you're just naming off race. What if we picked up?
I mean,
I think
that's
I'm
not
gonna
what
say
it
this. I'm gonna
Is that the system?
I feel like that. I got the Bengals. As a Ravens fan, I see we have a lot of flaws. We can't even score. It's hard for us to even score. I think our only chance is to try to keep the ball away from the Bengals. Try to hone in on the running game. It's hard to without Lamar, who's probably the biggest weapon in the NFL in general. So I have to go with the Bengals. I'm not gonna be delusional here, and I think we just need to focus on the offseason, get our players healthy, get Lamar's contract if they want to pay that man, because
they
don't
just
be
paid
off
Roquan
now.
Smith, man.
If they want to pay him, you know they don't.
If they're going to give him that contract, we'll see though. But right now, I get the Bengals. The Bengals just too high. The offense too high. Too many weapons. Even though our defense can kind of contain like we did last game, because we only lost by 11, which I thought we were going to get blown out by 33. With Anthony Brown, I think that's pretty good.
Man.
I think it's pretty good. But yeah. I got
That game was over once Joe Mixon flipped that coin, man.
So for me, got the Bengals as well. this is a situation where even if Lamar comes back, the Ravens are basically kind of like the Steve Nash Nets, where it's like, Lamar save us.
You got to depend on that, man.
So
It's sad.
Unfortunately, even if Lamar comes back, I feel like he would have to have the game that Josh Allen had against the Chiefs last year for them to have a chance to win. I mean, we saw how they looked last week. We saw how this game played out last week. I think it'll play out similarly, even if Lamar is back. So I'm going to take the Bengals.
It'd be similar. You think it'd still be kind of a similar thing?
I think it'll be a little bit closer, but I don't think it'll be to me. It'll just be a game where the Bengals would be wire to wire.
I think it'd be easier for us to keep the ball away from the Bengals, which is our issue last game, because we always was getting off the field. Offense was.
I don't know though, because
our defense could at least, I'm not saying contain the team, but they're not going.
I don't think Lamar. I don't think Lamar would throw 2 interceptions like Anthony Brown.
Yeah,
he probably won't.
But I do think, as Christian's probably about to say, the Bengals would just stack the box and say, try to beat us with your receivers, and we know how that works.
And I don't want to say Lamar beat us with your arm, but it's not Lamar. It's receivers. Can you beat our corners?
Can you get open?
And it's our scheme.
The
Ravens
exactly. Receivers, for as much flack as Lamar Jackson gets week after week, year after year for his ability to throw, the Ravens don't give him anybody to throw the ball to. Nope. His number one receiver is Rashad Bateman. He's been hurt all year. Who's the receivers? Devin Duvernay,
Demarcus Robinson, and Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, and Deshaun Jackson had some flash plays and he was out of there. They cut him.
Yeah.
So I don't think the Ravens receivers are.
And Mark Andrews been quiet too.
Gonna make the impact that is necessary to win a playoff game. Unless the Ravens are just able to run the ball the whole way down the field, and Lamar is able to pick up those 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5s with his legs. I just don't think the Bengals will allow that to happen. They'll have 6, 7, 8 in the box sometimes, and just tell them to let your receivers beat us. And if they're not having that many people in the box, they'll double Mark Andrews, and you've seen throughout the season, Mark Andrews' numbers have gone down, and that's not because he's a worse receiver. Of course, he's playing with a worse quarterback. But whenever Lamar was playing with Mark Andrews, the defense was so focused on Mark Andrews because he is that top 3, top 5 tight end in the league.
Yeah.
Where if you're focused on him, you have to make everybody else beat you, and everybody else can't beat you. And Lamar is just so good where you can still win games because of him. But the Ravens weren't able to. I don't think he's gonna come back in this game specifically. But even if he does, I don't think they'll be able to get it done necessarily. I don't know if the spread would be much different.
Yeah.
But Cowboys Bucks, I'd like to go last with this game.
Okay.
I'll go first. I can't just go away from the trend of the Cowboys just always folding in the big moments, especially Mike McCarthy, who folded in a lot of big moments, not only with the Cowboys, but with Aaron Rodgers too. So I think...
Oh, wait. Is that McCarthy or Rodgers' fault, though?
Yes.
Because I'm seeing
Yes.
Rodgers do the same thing.
I've seen
with a different coach.
I've seen them both do it.
Once they separated, they done it too.
Exactly.
They choke together, choke away. Like.
Hold on. Who fault was that? Was that McCarthy fault? Was that Dak fault last year?
No, last year. Look,
I put that on McCarthy because they weren't.
No.
They weren't ready.
They played a hot Niners team though. Niners was kind of hot during that time.
Yeah, but they were. But I'm talking about the last play. They ran the ball. That's on Mike McCarthy because you have to have your team. I mean, they need to know the rules.
That was that, man.
I've
been in the league since
I agree.
2016. Come on now.
I agree. Mike McCarthy has to know that his team wasn't prepared. They were barely getting to the ball in that scenario. We don't want to go too far back.
Last year. Didn't give the ref the ball. That's probably.
But everybody else want to make their.
Yeah,
I got Bucks.
I got the Bucks too.
Especially too.
Dang, that's not gonna be
mainly because it's Tom Brady, and I'm not gonna bet against Brady. Well, a very good reason, and Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys is not a good enough reason for me to bet against them.
Yeah.
The cornerback 2 situation in Dallas is still, I don't know, what they're doing. Opposite of Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs is basically a respectable corner now, if not a great one. And it's whoever that second corner is probably going to get picked on by Chris Godwin, or it can be Scott Miller for all I care. It can be anybody, probably cook him.
Don't forget about Julio.
I honestly forgot Julio was on that team. He played last week? I don't know. He played off and on like he I don't know. But it's like when you bet against Brady, it's a Monday Night Football game. This is a perfect situation. I can already imagine it's gonna come down to the wire. Brady's gonna lead them down the field. They don't get a field goal, and I'm gonna wake up Tuesday morning and Steve A. Smith's gonna be on First Take talking about this.
Oh yeah, we tuning in on Tuesday morning.
You got the script?
I already got the script, man. It's written for Brady.
Everybody got that script.
It's been the same script for a few years.
You want to know how I know I got the script? Because when Brady played the Cardinals led by Trace McSorley on Sunday or Christmas primetime game,
and they had to force it to overtime.
They had that game being close. The script had to be written for that because there's no way that game should have been close. Tom Brady throwing 2 picks. That's just not realistic. So this week I expect it to be Dak is going to throw some picks. Brady's going to throw some picks. It's going to be a defensive game, come down to the wire, and then Brady's team going to kick a field goal or a last-second touchdown.
Well, Jalen basically just took what I was going to say. He just took what I was going to say. But basically, I think this first half is going to be real sluggish. I think Dallas is going to look the way they did against the Commanders last week. I think Dak is going to throw a couple interceptions early. I think that Tom's probably going to look a little sluggish as well. So that first half is probably going to be pretty might be close to unwatchable football depending on if you're a defensive guy or not.
Let me play devil's advocate just in case everybody's saying the same thing. If Dak comes out and throws 300, 3 touchdowns, he might get a statue built because that might be the biggest win of his career.
Yeah, he would have to look like that from week 1 the year before, I think. Not this year, but the year before.
We're going back a little far.
Wait, so say Giants win, Cowboys win, and Niners win. I mean, Niners play Cowboys.
The Niners will play the Cowboys, and the Giants will play the Eagles again.
Yeah, one of those games are awful.
All right, so
but before CT finishes, but yeah, I think it'll probably be somehow, some way, that third quarter is probably gonna be really entertaining. We're gonna have back and forth scores, and then of course at the end, Brady will come find a way to win in the fourth. So I got the Bucs winning 26-20. No, 26-23. 26-23. I think Brady throws a late touchdown pass to Mike Evans on a fade route over Trayvon Diggs to win it.
Oh my goodness.
And
we gonna remember that.
On
When that don't happen, come back to this moment.
Hey, you called it. We gotta get this out before Sunday.
Yeah.
But
so that's why
I want everybody to get everything they got.
Yeah, no, I'm done.
All right, so the Buccaneers have been awful this year. Just complete garbage, It's been a shame to see, what could be Tom Brady's last season just look like this, where they have to just back into the playoffs almost, where you almost don't even think they deserve to make it. But, at the end of the day, they do have one of those, not even one of those, the greatest.
One of those bad divisions?
No.
Oh.
The greatest quarterback that we've ever seen play this game.
That's true.
The thing I want to say about the Bucs, they've been awful, but they've had there's been no continuity in the secondary, but everybody is starting to come back at the right time. So Sean Murphy-Bunting, I believe, only played 12, 13 games. Jamel Dean only played 15. Antoine Winfield only played 13 games. Carlton Davis only played 13 games. Mike Edwards only played 13 games. But the things that we may not realize is that everybody played recently.
And they got Brady, so
they're coming back at the right time. And the thing about the Cowboys is they've shown us that they're not immune to losing to a bad team.
Yeah. Yep.
Commanders last week, awful team. The Cowboys played everybody, even if they were running remedial offense, remedial defenses. They lost to the Commanders, who were led by their third-string quarterback, rookie out of North Carolina. His name is Sam Howell.
Didn't they finish with the same record as the Bucs?
Hey, And then the Cowboys also lost to a Packers team who were trying to, streak into the playoffs at the time. The Packers showed us that when it mattered most, when they had a game that mattered and the Lions weren't playing for anything at all, they couldn't get it done. So the Cowboys have shown us that, whatever their record may say, they're still the good old Cowboys that we know and love from our childhood, Our whole lifetime, we haven't seen the Cowboys be actually good, Those regular seasons haven't moved any of us in recent years, I don't think.
They haven't made the championship.
I was a little worried Dak's
Exactly.
rookie year, But ever since then, they've shown me that, what does Stephen A. say? What can go wrong will go wrong. And so I'm projecting that to happen again, I feel like this would be an early exit in a disappointing season for the Cowboys. And, Jerry Jones already said that if they lose this game, that Mike McCarthy won't get fired. I don't believe Jerry Jones.
Me neither.
I don't believe a word he says out of his mouth. Because if they lose this game to Tom Brady, as Tom Brady probably has the worst record he's ever had in his career almost.
Yeah, first losing season.
They lose to this team. This is almost a must-win for this Dallas regime as a whole.
Yeah.
And this regime being Jerry Jones, of course, because he wants another one before. And Mike McCarthy.
Hold on. We're gonna get that one more time. I think the camera cut out. You said
Mike,
before
before
what?
he
It's no longer on it.
passes the mantle. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's him holding up, passing the mantle.
Yeah.
All
Mike
right, got
McCarthy, if he wants to keep his job. Zeke Elliott.
What about him?
Getting up in that age.
Oh, this is different.
You gonna pass the mantle?
This is the Swan song.
Is he
right
This
here.
is last game.
Is he-
This is
Hey,
last game of the
The
Cowboys.
Cowboys playing Tony Pollard too? I don't know.
What do you mean 2? They only paying one.
Dak
No,
Prescott.
they pay one.
Dak
Tony
Prescott.
won.
How many games did Dak Prescott play this year? 11? 12?
13.
13?
No, he played 12. He played 12.
Played 12?
How many interceptions he got?
Led the league in interceptions? Okay. But we're told that they're not all his fault. I get it.
They
you
said
know,
he missed
but I
all
wa-
games.
Only half of them.
I watched that Commanders game last week and saw that Dak threw the same route twice.
Hold on.
Kendall Fuller dropped the
Give him
first
some
one.
credit now. It wasn't the same route.
Oh,
The
no,
first
okay.
one was a
It was
curl
a route.
to Noah Brown.
But look,
Second one
it
was
the
an
same
out.
timing.
Outright.
Yes.
They were both late.
I think the second one might have been worse.
The second
Definitely
one was much
worse.
Because
Yeah.
Kendall Fuller was still on his
So
feet. That's how bad it was. He had to jump the route. He threw it right to Kendall Fuller. But I've seen Dak do some things over the season that, Dak isn't playing his best football. And they've been aided by a schedule that isn't the strongest, of course. And they have a breakout running back who they just may choose not to play. I don't remember Tony Pollard getting that many carries or touches at all last week. Of course, they may have been trying to, rest one of their best players into the playoffs.
Yeah, their second
But,
best offensive player.
Yeah, because, if the defense focuses on CD, you tell Michael Gallup, who hasn't been able to separate this year, he's coming off a torn ACL, and Noah Brown, who
Even if they do focus on,
Don't
even
forget
if they,
T.Y.
T.Y. Hilton, man,
I say even if
If
they
he
don't
doesn't
focus on CD, it seems like they're going to throw the ball to Noah Brown anyway.
If
Shannon
T-
Sharp
yeah.
was talking about that.
if
Noah-
T.Y.
Noah
doesn't
Brown.
make one big play, he's just not out there.
Yeah.
And then the tight end, he's pretty
Dalton
decent.
Dalton
Schultz.
Schultz, I like that.
He's decent, but if he's the one you're relying on to be the second option in the passing game,
That's disgusting.
then
Yeah.
you lost. So we all picked the Bucks. We may regret this, but like we said,
I don't know.
What can go wrong will go wrong, man.
So speaking of
I'm
what
betting
can-
on Brady.
I was going to say, speaking of what can't go wrong, what go wrong, do y'all think this Stephen A. Tuesday morning segment will hit, or you think it's going to be different?
No, if the Bucks win this
If the
game,
Bucks win,
I might set my alarm to watch first
That
take.
might be the greatest ever.
I feel like they got to have Michael Irvin on for the hit.
He's not showing up.
Because
He's not showing up, bro.
Wasn't Michael Parsons
I don't-
supposed to be on Undisputed
Undisputed?
the whole year, and he
Man.
just canceled after the first game?
It's funny. They never talked about that again. He just never showed up one time.
Does Skip Bayless even talk about him anymore?
Yeah, he talked about
maybe a
it
little
yesterday.
disappointed, but
Yeah.
we all picked the
Was
Bucks.
clean sweep of each game except for the
For the
Chargers.
For the Vikings game and the Chargers.
Okay.
So the Vikings, Lone Wolf, obviously JG. Chargers, CT. So everything else was a clean sweep.
And I'll say this before we end. The two big constants in our life as sports fans, as football fans, growing up, in our lifetime. Tom Brady getting the job done when it's mattered most, and the Cowboys choking the game away when it's mattered most.
Hey man, something's going to give, right?
Yeah, so I know something's not giving.
I don't know how
They
the
just
script.
collide, they just come together.
Just think about how the script was written for the whole NFC South to be bad, but Tom Brady still made the playoffs with an 89 record with the whole rest of the division being 7-10. How's that possible?
What can you say, man?
The script was written too well. Just too well.
This might be a generational L from Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. But, we're all just hoping for good football this week. And we can move on to our next topic. We're going to do the awards. Yeah. We can go through the awards pretty quickly for the most part.
Yeah, we have offensive and defensive rookie of the years.
So we want to start off with that.
Rookies of the year.
I think that's I think we can all agree on. Oh no, yes you do.
Offensive
Yes,
rookie
you
of the
do.
year?
Come on, man.
Well, I know he had somebody.
I
for
told
defense.
you. I told you before the draft, man.
I know what it
They
is.
play on the same team. Don't do too much.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson and Sauce
Sauce,
Gardner.
yeah, I think it's obvious. Sauce has been the top 3 corner in the league this season in general. And Garrett Wilson has been balling with 3 or 4 different quarterbacks. He has 1,000 yards.
And none of them are good.
Exactly. So I think it's obvious in my opinion.
You know what's crazy about it?
What?
The player that originally could have won is also on that team is Breece Hall. If he didn't get hurt, I think he probably
would've won.
That's a
he
good
would
point.
have won.
Yeah, they had the 3 best rookies. That was a great draft from the
So that draft,
Imagine if they had a
That's probably
quarterback.
the best draft we've seen.
they
this
just
year.
need a quarterback. So I hope
You
they
thought they
get.
had one though.
Yeah, I did, but
I mean,
you
they
know
still
what?
try to play him though.
That quarterback got their offensive coordinator fired. He just got fired like a few hours ago. So
Y'all heard
I
Zach
was
Wilson
wrong.
said though, right? He'll make whoever vet QB they sign make him miserable. That sounds good.
Rosen said that too.
Real good.
Oh, Rosen did say
He
something
said that. He
like
said that exactly.
But he didn't get the opportunity.
He didn't.
Zach will also not get the opportunity.
He'll be a Jet. That's the sad thing.
Oh yeah, he's not going
because
to.
the Jets aren't drafting anybody. I think they're bringing Jimmy G, Derek Carr.
Yeah, it's gotta be Jimmy, right? Since he knows the San Francisco.
No, I think
I don't know
Jimmy
who they're getting.
I thought they were getting Lamar.
You getting Lamar?
There you go.
They're
getting Lamar
That was
Jackson.
too easy.
Stop it.
I seen the script.
I want Lamar in
It's
Detroit, man.
You think
Lamar Detroit?
You think Lamar's gonna look at that franchise tag and
I
say
want
yes,
Lamar
please,
in
and sign that joint?
I mean,
With the Ravens?
I think Lamar will just not play.
Yeah, I'd rather him not play than be on the different team.
Oh, that's
person.
sick.
Man, that's
That's how I feel personally.
That's
As a
Ravens
Ravens fan, we need Lamar.
That's funny.
So
No
he
matter how
doesn't-
long it takes, we need to work out our contract with him. No matter how long it takes. Even though I don't think it gets to the point where we have to franchise tag him. I don't think it gets to that point.
You already at that point.
I don't think no, we're not. No, we're not.
The second you gave an off-ball linebacker $100 million.
Hold on.
That actually helps our case to keep Lamar.
I think we need to let Brian say his defensive.
Yeah, so I agree with y'all on offensive rookie of the year. However, even though Sauce has been great this year,
Hold on.
top 3 corner, PFF, all that good stuff.
Hold on. You're
No,
not gonna say.
No, it's not.
It's not Kayvon
It's
Thibodeau.
not
It's not
this.
Kayvon. It's not Kayvon
It's
Thibodeau.
even worse.
But it is another.
Oh, no.
It's another pass rusher.
Oh no, it's not the guy from the Lions, is it?
It is the guy from the Lions.
Oh.
Aiden Hutchinson, he had a great season. Had 2-3 picks. I think he had double-digit sacks as well. And we saw, he helped the Lions. Kind of like Nick Bosa did with the 49ers. Helped the Lions win some more games
To them,
this season.
that third pick. That was a Hail Mary attempt that for some reason, I forgot what the quarter was, he just threw it to the sidelines on a Hail Mary attempt. I don't know who does that. It didn't get down
That's
far.
fine, but I mean, we gotta talk about context here.
Do you really believe
You know what I'm saying? The Lions were not good last year.
Do you really believe
Yes, I really believe this. I really believe
Oh,
this.
so
This
you
is
got-
not me. This is not me trying to be different.
Yeah, 9.5 sacks. So yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so
It's pretty much
almost a double-digit
pretty
season.
much.
Had a couple interceptions. Helped that Lions defense become better.
Look at how many.
And as a
games
result,
he's
they won more games. They
9.5
won more
sacks.
games this season, and they were a Seahawks loss away from making the playoffs.
9.5 sacks is the average Marcus Golden season.
had. I just wanted to be.
Sauce
nice.
Gardner was a top 3 corner in the league.
James Houston played 7 games. He had
Who?
James Houston, the real best pass rusher on that team.
How many sacks he had?
3, 4, 5, 6, 8 sacks in 7 games. James
8
Houston,
sacks?
yeah, Jackson State, HBCU.
Mm.
I think I should shout him out. I feel like if he played the whole season with those numbers, he may have been able to walk away because he could have touched 13, 14 sacks the whole season. So I don't think he's gonna even be in the conversation, but I think we need to be able to give him his flowers with the type of season he had. He was only able to play 7 games, but to put up 8 in that span as a 6th-round pick, I believe he was a 6th-round pick, out of an HBCU where people don't think, the talent is the same or similar, and he's shown that, this level of player can play on this level, as we've seen in the past, of course, but I just wanted to shout him out and give him his flowers as a player on that Lions defense who may have impressed me a little bit more.
There's a player probably coming third or a second, depending on how much they value cornerback play. Tariq Woolen.
Yeah.
Tariq Woolen.
He's top 3 for sure.
Derek Stingley will not even be in top 10. He did not have a good season.
Dang.
He was, average rookie corner season.
It wasn't his fault.
Stingley.
No, because he's at corner, so I was assuming he's talking about
It
Stingley.
wasn't his fault.
It wasn't his fault.
As an outside corner, they were playing cover 2.
Yeah, so that doesn't help.
They put him in zone, and he's
Why
a
did you
press
draft
man
him
corner. I don't even know
to
why.
play cover 2 the entire
Because they
season.
knew Lovey wasn't going to be there after 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about the Texans more in a second.
Okay, what's next?
Coach of the year. Who do y'all have for that?
I feel like I just told you.
Yeah, I feel like
Earlier.
we have the same answer for sure.
Dable?
Yeah.
I think Dave was a lead for me, but I also think that Pete Carroll and
That is a good pick. That's
Nick Sirianni has a good chance to win it. But personally, I think Brian Dable took a team that's supposed to be terrible and essentially carried them to a playoffs where they could have won a Division 2.
They good?
Actually, I lied. I forgot about the Eagles. I lied. But
There's
I
a
think
lot
Brian
of good
Dable just
contenders.
exceeded expectations more than anybody else can with no
He
talent
did.
on the roster. With the Seahawks, they have outstanding rookies. I understand coaching is a big part of that, but rookies played amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like Jay-Z said, you can't really name them with 4 really, really good players on the Giants.
Yeah, with the rookies, how much do
And
we
four is kind
weigh?
of question.
Yeah.
How much do we weigh coaching versus the front office just finding the gym?
Yeah.
But
I do get the peak point though, because I think if Brian Daboll doesn't make the playoffs, he probably isn't winning it. But since he did make the playoffs, he'll get it. So either so like Pete Carroll, maybe even like Mike Tomlin as a dark horse because of where they started
No.
and like finished.
Heck no.
No.
I feel like Mike Tomlin's
He could win every year if he
reputation
wanted
is-
to, for personally, but like,
Yeah.
especially with the way Big Ben was
So you
playing
got
the
Dable
last
as
couple
well?
I got
years.
Dable. Yeah, I got Brian Dable.
Nah, that last season, Big Ben was literally like one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen.
Hey, but he made the playoffs. with
Made the
that, man.
playoffs
He
and
made
they
the
got
playoffs with
blown
that.
out. But yeah, coach of the year, I'm probably go with Dable too. It's either him or how do you say the Eagles coach name again?
Sirianni. Yeah, I can see Sirianni.
It's either him or Sirianni. Just because when you outplay your expectations, well, outcoach your expectations as a quarterback, as a coach, as a quarterback Super Bowl team, but as a coach, it kind of just give you better chances. There's some teams that was coached real well, of course, and like Andy Reid and them, but it's like they expect you to do that. You have Mahomes, you have Josh Allen, you have Burrow. These teams you expect to be good, but when you have like Jalen Hurts, who wasn't expected to take this leap, or you have Daniel Jones, who was supposed to expect to be garbage and left after the season. They both look like capable quarterbacks.
He
for their
tapped into
franchise.
the potential of that team.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Definitely.
He did. He definitely created a system where Daniel Jones' limitations weren't as broadcasted as they were in years past.
And he played to his strengths.
And he
Let
played
him
to his
let him
strengths.
run a lot more.
Let Daniel Jones
Run
be the
blue legs
mobile
and
quarterback
stuff.
that he is, moving the pocket for him, so he wasn't just sitting in the pocket taking sacks and fumbling the ball like he had in years past.
Yeah.
Moving the pocket for him. But I will say, I don't really think Brian Dable's going to win. I've looked at the odds.
What was it now?
You think it's gonna be
They're
Sirianni?
saying Shanahan, and they're
Well,
saying Tomlin and Sirianni.
I wouldn't
That
be
makes
surprised.
sense.
I don't see Kyle Shanahan. I mean, I know they had Brock Purdy, but you had weapons like McCaffrey.
But look,
great defense.
McCaffrey came along mid-season, though. And McCaffrey came along when they were
I don't think they
in the midst of that run.
lost the game other than I think versus the Chiefs. I think McCaffrey's there for that. But other than that game, I don't think they lost since
Yeah.
McCaffrey got there.
I think there's a lot of good I think there's a
Yeah,
lot of good
there's a lot of
candidates.
candidates.
I think a dark candidate right now is Doug Peterson. I wouldn't be surprised if
That's
he
a
wins.
good pick, too.
Yeah.
Dan
I wouldn't
Campbell.
be surprised. Yeah, Dan Campbell's well.
There's a lot of because a lot of teams played above expectations this year.
Especially the Jaguars.
And even like the best teams in the league, nobody's even talking about Sean McDermott, the way he's been able to keep Buffalo great as a
Andy
team.
Reid.
Andy Reid, nobody talked about the Chiefs. He lost his best receiver, and the team almost looks like they didn't miss a beat. Even Sirianni, people aren't really talking about it. Zach Taylor even, and people don't really think Zach Taylor's a good coach.
Yeah.
Well, I think he got this point.
Yeah, he's shown that he's a pretty decent coach in the way he's able to manage the game, create a game plan. People may not agree with how often he runs the ball or chooses not to run the ball. But he's been able to play to the strengths of the receiving core. Burrow just looked great. He's helped him look great.
And I think what you're saying about them saying he don't choose to run the ball. No. I think Joe Mixon might be washed. So
really?
I think he's. Yeah, have you seen it? Look at the stats.
No, I've seen him. That's why they're not running the ball.
Yeah,
he was better this year.
Yeah, he's kind of overrated based on name value. He's struggled a lot this season, so I understand why he's putting the game in Burrow's hands a lot, which makes sense. You have a top 5 quarterback with 2 receivers I believe are top 20, and 1 is top 5. So you makes sense to pass the ball more than you run it when Joe Mixon's getting like 2 yards a carry.
Yeah. I mean, Joe Mixon, he's never been a consistent over 4 yards per carry guy. He had one of his better seasons last year, but he struggled a bit this year. So like we said, Zach Taylor was able to cater to the strengths of what the team was doing well, and he had a good season too. But that's just to say, there's so many good candidates this year that even some of the best coaches aren't even being talked about because it's expected from their year in and year out at this point.
I think who's the favorite? It's still
Says Shanahan.
Shanahan.
I don't
From
believe
the
it's going to
Athletic.
go like that. I still think it's going to go Dable just because that team is almost lacking talent offensively, and they still was able to score decently. Defensively, they had a lot of injuries, and they would still be a pretty good team. But
They've been so good this year.
the issue is, I'm assuming, is due to strength of schedule.
Sirianni, Shanahan, Doug Peterson. 1, 2, 3.
And then Dable at 4.
Sports betting, yeah. So look, put some money down. People might believe in Dable the same way you do. So we want to go to the comeback player of the year.
Yeah, final award for tonight. We'll do a few more down the line, but yeah, comeback player of the year. I'll start it off. To me, it comes down to 4 candidates. Well, really 3. I know Christian McCaffrey was talked about, but it's really going to come down to Geno Smith, Saquon Barkley, and Nick Gates for me. I think Nick Gates could win based off his storyline because of what happened.
What's the criteria for comeback player of the year?
Comeback.
Honestly,
What did
it's
Geno
It's
Smith come?
story. It's a story.
When did Geno Smith come back from? I mean, a backup.
Yes.
basically it's a narrative. It's a narrative driven.
No, Geno Smith coming back from when they was writing him off, and he was.
Oh yeah, yeah, right back.
Yeah.
Yeah, right back. You're right.
So yeah, that fits the criteria if you ask me.
Right back.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I can see Nick Gates winning it, obviously because of the horrific injury he suffered when they played against the Commanders a year ago. So just having that unbelievable recovery and being able to come back and play, good football. But I believe that Saquon Barkley is going to win the Comeback Player of the Year. He's looked more explosive this year, coming back from the ACL. He's really carried that offense. Along with Daniel Jones, and helped the Giants get to the playoffs. So I think Saquon Barkley. So Saquon Barkley is my Comeback Player of the Year.
Man, I hate to tell you, but I think that's the wrong answer.
Yeah.
Because the person who a lot of us may think is going to win, actually no.
No, say what you think.
No.
I think it's between two. I think it's Geno and Christian McCaffrey. I'm probably gonna lean Geno just because the story's better, and he basically played like a top 10 quarterback this season. When it's Geno Smith, he hasn't really had a good season ever, and he's been in the league for 7 years, if not more.
Yeah.
So
You got drafted 14?
Yeah. So that's 8 years.
9 years. 8, 9 years.
I think 13. I think 13 was the year.
Oh yeah, it is 13. That was a year.
I mean, it was a dog in West Virginia though, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cold.
And I remember seeing articles that before the season that Geno would actually be a good quarterback, and I didn't believe him because I was like, he's been a backup for a reason for so long.
He was in competition with Drew Lock, bro.
Yeah, I was like, he was
So
confident in
it's
Drew
like-
Lock. I mean, I thought they were punting on the season. They were just gonna get had 2 top 10 picks, and they can just charge up for next year. But
You thought that the Broncos were gonna be back before the season?
yes, I did.
Oh wow, that's a good pick for you. You're not normally right that often.
I did.
But I think Christian McCaffrey is more of like a fantasy comeback player here. He did have a good season, but a lot of the discussion around him was real fantasy based. People were looking for the fantasy stats, but and people weren't really that surprised by Christian McCaffrey because of
Who
course,
he is.
yeah. I mean, even in like that fantasy conversation, he was still a top 4 pick.
Yeah.
Saquon, I get it, but I think him tailing off a little bit towards the middle of the season and maybe not finishing as strong, but he did have his big games, like the Commander game, must-win game for the Giants. Because if the Giants lose that game, against the Commanders, of course percentages, that percentage drops for the likelihood of them making the playoffs. But I do like the Geno Smith pick. I think for this is just the comeback of a career, basically.
Yeah.
For him to look like the quarterback that people were hoping he would be when he was initially drafted. Of course, he got drafted to a bad situation with the Jets. There was a lot of drama there. Got punched in the face. Yada yada yada.
Who that in there?
Yeah, and then
Hey, should he do it to him?
He did it to him.
He did it to him.
I don't know if he asked. He asked himself. He said it's time to go.
And then he was a backup to Russ the past couple years, I want to say. And then he was in a training camp battle with Drew Lock, who I said before the season, I thought the Seahawks should have given Drew Lock a chance.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And Geno proved me wrong for the beginning of the season for the most part, until he got on my fantasy team. But that's okay. I was a Drew Lock believer, and then Geno outperformed him in the preseason. But even in the preseason, it wasn't looking like
a crazy difference.
Yeah, it wasn't looking crazy. It just looked like, he'll just get the job done for him, and he might be able to keep him competitive in most games. But he really performed. He made the Pro Bowl, performed at a Pro Bowl level, which is something we hadn't seen from a quarterback. Going from backup for 7 straight years to performing at a Pro Bowl level.
I don't think that's ever right.
That's a career resurgence.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw out crazy names because I'm not a big Geno Smith guy, but Kurt Warner going down with the Giants, and getting with the Cardinals, man.
Don't throw me
Getting
off.
to
Don't throw me off.
And just falling short of that big game against the Steelers.
That's a little different because Kurt was an MVP already.
Yeah, he was, but
That's
he was
good.
also a backup after
Oh my
that.
goodness.
Immediately after that.
I'm gonna have to agree with both CT and JG. I think Geno Smith got it. Just replacing a franchise all-time best quarterback, Russell Wilson. Even breaking his passing yard record. Something.
17 games though, but yeah.
But regardless of it's big to the point where Russell Wilson was. I understand the Seahawks team is a different team this year than they were last year with the rookies and everybody added. But still being able to take over from Russell Wilson and take this team to the playoffs is something huge. But yeah, just being able to do that as a quarterback, after 6-7 years as a backup, and he thought he should be a career backup. It's huge, it's big, and I think he's gonna win just off that narrative. So
that's the same pressure too. Like it's not like he was brought into the team. He was on this team with Russ. He was Russ's backup.
Yeah.
The guys knew him as the backup quarterback, and for him to take over and man the locker room as that guy, he was he was selected as the starting quarterback by the coaching staff. And for him to just take over and give them their best quarterback season, you can argue of all time, but he was better than Russ was last year.
Yes.
And so for him to do that, that's a lot of pressure coming in, taking over, like he said, best quarterback in franchise history, the guy who led them to a Super Bowl. And I mean, it's an impressive story for him. And like he said in the first game where he said they wrote him off, but he wasn't writing back. So for
that was the first game.
Yeah, that was first right after the Broncos game.
He beat Russ.
Oh, that's ballsy, bro.
And so for him to just keep that, and for him to say that after the first game, and he said that in the first game. I don't think any of us thought he was going to have a Pro Bowl season. Geno chatting because he beat his former teammate.
Yeah,
but he actually played better in the games following that because
he had a few more quotables as the season went on.
So it's an impressive story, and he put together a full season of work, which we haven't seen. These type of players we used to seeing like splash games, but he put together the full season of work, except for the fantasy playoffs. But
we tailed off towards the end though. He did tail off a little bit, but it's still regardless though.
When it mattered most
ends
for me.
next week though.
Ends next week? Yeah, we did say that. All right, y'all. That's been another edition of the What's the Play podcast. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Be sure to tune in next week as we're going to talk about the action in the NFL. We may even touch on some NBA stuff. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see y'all next time. Stay tuned for the next play.